Guys, welcome back to another breakdown. This is a breakdown for episode 4 of the Blue Period. Blue Period seems to be releasing very infrequently, so it's up and down. It's not even been a full week since we had a Blue Period episode. Episode 4 ended up coming out a day before I even realised it was out, so I apologise. This one is late, but it's very confusing when it's not releasing periodically like all the other ones where it's every single week and I can rely on it being every single week. So before we get going, make sure you guys are subscribed. There is some cool stuff going your way. Obviously, there are the 5 breakdowns going down on the channel at the moment, so those are weekly. Unless you're Blue Period, then you're not weekly. And I've also got my midway review coming up. That is my top 3 OPs, EDs, and my current standing for anime. So what are my top 3 anime during that middle period? So before the end has happened, before we are at the end and I can finally draw a overall picture on what I liked. It will be what are my midway impressions. That tends to go down quite cool with you guys. You guys do enjoy that one. And there will also be a Halloween special for you guys. And that will be my Tokyo Treat unboxing. I have the Halloween box coming in my way soon. There is some Demon Slayer stuff in there, so I'm very excited to keep it themed on the channel as well. So make sure you guys tune in for that. That's going to be fun. There's a Discord channel too for you guys to like, and you get notified whenever videos go up. So if things are a little bit infrequent, or especially with Blue Period, with it being a bit unreliable, you know when that is. So let's go into this week's episode. It's a very interesting one. And there's also a very nice piece that Yoguchi produces at the end. I really do like it. We are told that composition really is the key. Everything breaks down just into composition. Apparently every single great work can be broken down into certain shapes. Some of them I can see it. Some of them I don't know if I agree, because sometimes you look at a piece and it's wild. The point is it's supposed to be wild. There's also the line that great paintings look simple at first. I really don't know if I agree with this, because some pieces overwhelm you upon your first view because of how complex they are. And then the more you look at it, the more it breaks down into simplified pieces. Not quite sure I agree on it, but that's the fun part about art. It is subjective and lots of things can be tried and tested. We are in a new class. I think we end up shaking things up a little bit, and we've got slightly new characters, new techniques. We end up crash landing into our new class because Kuwena ends up pushing Yoguchi straight into it, which is a fun introduction to her as a character. We saw her last week, but this is our first proper introduction. We end up seeing Yoguchi being overwhelmed by new techniques, seeing everybody trying everything in the books to do their style of art. We have lunch with Kuwena, who is, of course, the student from a line of artists. So everybody in her family is an artist. And we do also get another cool line that big eaters equals a female artist. I don't know if this is true. I'd like to actually speak to some artists and see if they too are big eaters, small eaters. I'm curious to see if it's something more than just a rumour. There's a lot of interesting rumours and little tips and tricks that we learned this week as well. So whether that's just another one to brush aside. Brenna opens her eyes to the idea of taking an edge in art. So all of these new techniques we're seeing, the dramatic cutting of a board and random pieces like spraying an artboard with a spritzer, art has evolved, and I like the fact that art does evolve. If you compare the art coming out from 100 years ago to now, art is different because of the new things around us, new stimulus we have, the new techniques we have, there's new inventions, maybe colours as well, they changed themselves. Art is meant to be creative, it's meant to be expressive, so it moves with the times, and I like that. So it's moved away from just simply being your classics. I did find it quite interesting that they actually graded every single piece that they were producing. It's scary, but I think it's also effective because you can see how a certain piece does. You can ask yourself, why did this picture do better than this picture? I like the way that they teach here. Would be quite terrifying to also see your art falling in ranks. Because art is so subjective, it does make me wonder if they have any difficulty in actually ranking and agreeing on the pieces as a whole. Yoguchi's new piece ends up middle of the ranks. It's a little bit slightly above middle, and it's a fantastic achievement. However, we can't feel joy in this achievement because of what's about to happen. Kuwena ends up first, but we are introduced again to something more superstitious. It's the idea of being cursed. If you come first, you are cursed to fail, which I really hope isn't the case because Kuwena is pretty cool. If she does end up failing getting into a institute of her choice, that would be quite terrifying. Let's go back to Yoguchi because he ends up ranking top out of the 3 characters that we have been focusing on, which is Sakai and Haruka. And it ends up forcing Sakai to quit, which is quite painful, and The next bit with him literally ripping at poor Yoguchi is really, really painful as well. Because he ends up telling us that it's all just exam art. It's art, it's catered for a institute, a specific like. So if you know a institute likes maybe blue paintings, when people would go, oh, to get in, I must use blue in that painting. It forces you to paint in a certain way. It perhaps limits your creativity. And you end up learning how to pass an exam as opposed to how not to make art, which is what Sakai ends up breaking down. And he really does feel pretty harsh as he puts poor Yoguchi down. And this is his first proper achievement. He's actually achieved something. He's not top of the board or anything, but it's a great achievement for him, and his achievement can't be enjoyed because he ends up being put down. And it feels harsh, and I don't like Sakai for doing it. He is picked up by Haruka, however, who tries to cheer him up and state that he understands that certain institutes would have a preferred style. But Yoguchi sadly isn't allowed to feel happiness for this little achievement this week. And he ends up asking himself, what is he really trying to achieve? So Sakai does leave. He doesn't appear again. We see him come and collect his stuff, but he doesn't appear for any more classes. And I do keep forgetting that this is just a cram school. And we haven't seen our great art tutor in a while. It's been a while since we went back to school and actually saw them working in school. But she does pick him up, and she always has this knack for just picking him up when he has lost his way. That it's still art, even though it might be focused on trying to get into somewhere. You're still using your skills to get in, and this is still your own art. It's your own style. We now finally get a visit to the place that we are aiming to get to, the Tokyo University for Art. Place that is also was attended by the mangaka. When we see the art festival, that you can probably guess that it's been designed and drawn realistically based upon the real thing itself. It's been a while since we saw Yoguchi's friends that we started in episode 1 with. And it's a nice, great break in tension because Yoguchi ends up getting drunk on caffeine. That's a very strange one. You can imagine it kind of sucks to be him if he actually needs to get energy, that he ends up just getting drunk instead. Where we meet Sakai's mum, who actually thanks Yoguchi for being friends with him. And we end up with these two hanging out in one of the exhibits for a little bit. I do want to know what happened to his friends, because they do come back and collect him, but it's kind of strange that his friends just vanish for a little bit and then pop back up again. Sakai says that all the pieces he sees are just self-centered. Sakai, I don't like you. You're not making me feel any better about you. I like the fact that Yoguchi is attracted to a blue piece of artwork as well. Just a nice little nod to the name as well. It seems Sakai has had enough, and he ends up being triggered by some of the words that Yoguchi ends up saying, where he says that, why are you trying to do art? You've already got everything. And it ends up getting pretty heated. And it also feels quite rude. As Yoguchi even says in tears, like, how can you say that when you know I'm giving it my all? Because he is giving it his all. It's very harsh for you to say something like that to somebody who is really trying and they want this. Yoguchi ends up being moved to tears, and I feel so bad for him as well. Where he thinks that it's because Sakai just isn't interested in his basic art. It's just not compelling enough to him. It's not interesting enough. And, art is subjective. It really is. It keeps coming back up again and again. That's what I think Yoguchi also needs to realise, is that your art isn't going to appease everybody. There's artwork out there that people love to pieces, but there's always a fair share of people who hate it as well. We now end up with the creation of one of the coolest pieces I have seen Yoguchi produce. He ends up drawing in such an emotional state whilst he is sad, and he's painting whilst crying. And we do get a nice blue filter with Yoguchi as he's painting along, as he's just emotional. Blue is a sign for emotions, it's sadness as well. And he has tears in his eyes, and the eyes really pop out because he's got blue eyes, and it's beautiful. And the orange, it works. It's such a good contrast to the cold blue. The orange is a very hot, passionate colour in a sense. Obviously, it's not red. It's not directly as passionate as red, but orange is still a passionate, vibrant, lively colour. It's a desire to say something through art, and this is where I think Yoguchi actually excels, is all the pieces that really have meant something is when he's tried to say something, his feelings, he's tried to communicate a message through his artwork, and that's when it really ends up being those high points for him. And all those pieces that he's produced, the blue one initially, is because he's got something he wants to say, some emotion he wants to convey. Vampiric Yoguchi, wow. The teeth on this still screenshot just... You went a little bit excessive on making the teeth look very vampiric. Maybe it's because you're trying to be meta, and he, at this point, is quite animalistic in the way he's crying and how he feels. But it's just those vampire teeth. And the result, let's talk about the result that he ends up coming up with. It's a beautiful piece. It stands out. The colors are contrasting. You've got orange and the blacks, and you've got a lot of gradient going on in between as well. It's a nice piece. I love the color. Finally, told by Oba this time that exam art really is just a myth. Once upon a time, it might have been the case, but they started to realize that it wasn't something that would be a thing, that it's a good painting really is just a good painting. If something is good, you're not going to turn it down because it doesn't meet your criteria. If it's good and it makes you go, oh my god, it's good, it's still a good painting nonetheless. There's no tricks, no cheats behind it. And Yoguchi's piece was just better than the other three that time. Sakai is just really being salty, but we are now told we have 120 days left to go. And that's quite terrifying. The speed on this is quite pacey. I know you guys have also said that it's really picking up pace. It's faster than the manga. I just hope that it continues to at least tell a story and it doesn't feel too paced. Some things can be a little bit speedier than the manga, that's fine, as long as you're still telling a story. You're not cutting out all the important pieces and your story still has a good emotion behind it, a good story behind it, and it's still compelling. At the moment, I'm enjoying this anime. I do notice it's quite pacey and we are heading quite quickly, and Yoguchi's suddenly quite good at art. For me, it's one episode to another episode, suddenly he's a great artist. That does feel a little bit jaw-dropping and a little bit neck-breaking, but I'm enjoying the story. I can't wait to see where it goes. I think the next episode's in 5 days, and I'll keep checking on it so I am not too late, and I apologise for being a day late on this. It's very difficult to keep up with an anime that seems to be a bit all over the place. If you're not following on Netflix, it is actually just only just started airing properly. So I think those guys are way behind on my videos. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you are taking care of yourselves. And if you are doing art, I wish you good art vibes, that you are able to produce a piece you are happy with. Have a good day. Bye-bye.